Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming, it's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hello folks, welcome back to the program. Chris live in central Pennsylvania with today's guest, another South African recent arrival who's come over here to the land of the free, and I hope that that's the experience he's having. Based on his t-shirt today, I suspect maybe that is the experience. And so I'm going to mess this up because people spell Stephen in different ways, but I think it's still pronounced Stephen and Stefan instead of Stefan. Stephen?
That's correct.
And is it Berridge or how do you pronounce it?
Berridge.
It is Berridge. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Stephen Berridge in from Mansfield, Ohio, the Buckeye State, and we'll probably talk about driver's license at some point because of that issue in Ohio. But Steve, welcome back to the program. How you doing? Or not welcome back to the program. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm doing very well, thanks.
So let's just start with the usual questions. I'll turn the floor over to you for a couple of minutes, give you a chance to answer these. When did you first hear about the program? How did you hear about the program? And what was it like with your, we'll jump from that to your arrival here.
Yeah.
Did your agent meet you? Did you go in temporary quarters? Did you go into your permanent quarters? Just kind of run down that. I'll give you the floor for a second.
Yeah. Okay. So, a friend of mine actually told me about the program. Initially, when it was announced, back probably in February last year, I then sent an email to PRM. And then when you announced the intake questionnaire was available, that's when I completed that. And that's how my process started.
So if I understand correctly, what happened was you did an email during the PRM phase, but you didn't do the statement of interest. You waited till November for the intake questionnaire.
No. I did the statement of interest, which was in May, when that became available.
Sorry, I was reaching for something here, and I couldn't get back to the microphone. So you did do the statement of interest. Did you do the intake questionnaire later on in November, or no?
No, I never did that. So I did the statement of interest. I then waited for a while, probably a month or so, and then I got my first phone call from CWS. And what was strange about that is that they said that they were going to call me from a Kenyan number, but it turned out to be a South African cell phone number. So I was a bit wary about that, because with scams and everything going on today, I wasn't sure if that was actually them calling me, but it turned out it was them. They did a pre-screening with me. I then waited probably another month when they sent me an email to do a Teams meeting with me, which I then did with them. They asked me all the normal questions and my reason for wanting to go on to the program. I then waited probably around August was when I was contacted again by them. And then only in November did I get my email just for my interviews, my in-person interviews.
So you didn't actually start getting in-person interviews until November. When did you actually land in the United States?
On this 3rd of February this year.
Well, that's actually not too bad. November, December, January. So not even 4 months later. That's actually pretty quick. But it isn't quick considering you started with the PRM a year prior.
Yeah, but like you said previously to other people, if you look at the timeline from when I actually went for my interviews to when I arrived was very quick.
Yeah, that's what gets lost on people. They want to talk
Yeah.
about, well, I did this, but the thing is that you may have sent an email, but like the 8,000 emails that people have sent me, I haven't seen them yet. I haven't gotten to those emails, and
Yeah.
so your timeline, your anger, your frustration is genuine, but it's not realistic because you don't even have a case yet. No one's begun processing what's going on. If, however, on the other hand, you were interviewed in July last year and you're not here now and you haven't received an ineligibility letter, you've got a serious case to be worried about. That's a long time to go without. So in your case, it took about 90 days. Now, you mentioned that a friend told you about it. Sounds like you had a good friend. He actually told you about this because you're in America now.
Yes. Actually, he's a South African guy. We're very good friends, and we were talking one day and he said to me, listen, I heard this is going to happen, and I think you're the ideal candidate for this. You should apply for it. Which I started investigating, searching on the internet, and that's how I came across your channel as well. Started watching that. Found one or two Facebook groups, but found that most of them were not very reliable as far as information goes. So I watched most of your videos that you put out, and that information was very helpful to me.
Well, that's the question I was going to ask, whether it was helpful or not. I presume it would be helpful. That's good to hear. So this process for you it was a long time. It was a year from the moment you expressed interest to before you got here. Was it difficult, the waiting, or did you continue on with your life? How did you go about that?
No, I continued on with my life. I made the decision up front that I'm not going to sit around and wait. I will just continue my life as if I'm not going to be able to get in, and just hope for the best.
Well, in this case, it looks like it worked out the best. You did work out by just moving on. So when they first contacted you, you said you were a little puzzled because they said they would contact you from a Kenyan number. I can explain what happened, and you probably recall, based on watching the videos, that most likely because what they were doing is the Kenyans would call the embassy, and then the embassy switchboard would route the number, so it would come out as a South African number.
Yes, that's probably what happened. And like I said, I was just concerned that it was a South African cell phone number.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can understand that concern, especially when you've been told specifically it would be a Kenyan number.
Yes.
But the problem is that not only is it a plane being built in flight because it's an in-country refugee program that hasn't been done in a while, but beyond that, it's also a case of, I don't think we have necessarily the sharpest people working the contracting side of this. For instance, the people who are doing this for RSC should be emphasizing that you shouldn't be quitting your jobs. It is in the email, but someone claimed to me, I talked to two people who had ineligibility letters yesterday, who were part of a support group that's been formed, and they were clearly frustrated. And I spent over an hour, 2 hours with them in the end, 2 hours, a lot of time listening to their cases. And I mentioned that because there's several people that have done this, who sold all the things, quit their jobs, and I said, I've warned people from the very beginning. I don't understand why. And one of the people in this conversation said that, well, they have a member of their group who has an ineligibility letter that said they were told by RSC at their briefings that they should get rid of everything and be ready to leave in 2 weeks. I find that I don't doubt what the person told me they've been told, but I find that implausible, if not impossible, to believe. Things like that should not be happening, and it's very much out of the character why somebody would tell somebody that. I have no idea, particularly at the stage that this happened a few months ago, because they know that people have been waiting for a long time and that they're processing. The 2 to 4 weeks is never 2 to 4 weeks, except in rare occasions. In your case, when did you get the email to say 2 to 4 weeks?
Like I said, I had my interviews in November. I then got an email in January, towards the middle of January, to say that I've been approved. And then within a week of that, I got my flight.
Wow, that's actually how things are supposed to work.
Yeah.
So in your case, it worked the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, I was quite surprised because once I got the approval, I was expecting to wait at least another month or 2 months.
It looks like you're the case that all the leftists are crying about. Improper vetting.
Yes.
You must have a very boring life. They were able to finish your investigations so quickly.
Probably, yes. I'm not a very, or I was not a very active person on social media. Very few posts. So yeah, I think that was part of the reason why I got over so quickly. I did, though. They did interview me for more than 4 hours, USCIS, and the majority of that was regarding my military service.
Oh, wait a second. People keep telling me with complete authority and knowledge and understanding that if you served in the military or the police, you can't be a refugee in America. But you're here. Somebody messed up.
And I'm English.
Oh, well, you're one of those Sutis. Okay, all right. Okay, gosh.
Well, not completely.
Okay.
I've got an English name and surname, but I actually grew up Afrikaans.
So when did you serve in? Well, I presume you're in the old South African Defense Force, not the Sandef.
Yes.
And when
I
did
was
you serve?
there in the early 80s.
Okay,
So I still do the 2 years of compulsory.
Yeah, and so they asked a lot of questions about that, which I told people they'll do.
Yeah.
They dug deeply. I'm gonna imagine they were concerned about human rights abuses and war crimes.
Oh yes, because when I was in the military, we also had to do. We were deployed to the riots that were happening at the time, and they were asking me about what I did and where I was, and I had to try and explain to them what I did, which was also very boring because I sat in a little office. I was manning a radio, and I was just keeping contact with the guys out on the trucks, just checking in with them every hour to see if they were okay. And that's what I did.
Okay, so you were in the old South African Defense Force. Your unit was involved in township patrols during riots, and you're here. My goodness, that sort of flies in the face of all the people are telling me that the reason that they've gotten ineligibility letters is because they served in the old military. Once again, look, and this is not something directed to people who got ineligibility letters, but this is directed at all the other people who are being frightened because they served in the military or because they serve in the police or because they're associated with AfriForum or Solidarity or even the Sightland Civil Defense. These are not things that make you ineligible. It's your actions that make you ineligible, and people don't seem to listen to me.
That's correct. I was fortunate, though. I believe that they've changed it now, and they require you to get documentation about your military service. I was not asked for that. So yeah, I was fortunate that I didn't have to produce any of those documents.
Well, I suspect, without knowing for certain, that they were able to get access to them, that someone turned that access off, and that's why they're asking people to request them individually.
Yeah.
Maybe something was being done that either doesn't comply with South Africa's law, when the government became aware of it, or they just quit cooperating. After the raid on Woodbridge, everything changed. The South African government is intentionally subverting and undermining this process, and it's a serious problem. They are not living up to their obligations under the Vienna Conventions, and they should be outed for that. But the U.S. government has been very kind and has not gone after them for the raid on Woodmead or for the doxing of American officials or the unlawful detention of diplomats who were in the pursuit of a diplomatic mission. People seem to just brush this off, but Woodmead, I mean, that's the sort of thing that countries go to war for in the past. I mean, shooting war. That's how serious it was. But the Trump administration has not made a big deal about it. But the South African government, they tried to play the victim. Oh, they're unauthorized people. Of course, they lied about the whole thing. The Kenyans that they denied on appeal, they sent their denial to the South African High Commission in Nairobi, while the Kenyans were in Johannesburg and Pretoria. Anyway, so let's get back to yourself here rather than talk about Woodbridge. What about yourself? What kind of field are you in? Are you a jack of all trades? Were you a farmer? Were you a welder? What were you doing in South Africa?
Okay, so in South Africa, obviously not being able to find work, I had a small little business where I was doing laser engraving and 3D printing. I was contracted by a company that does leather products for the hunting and shooting industry. And I was actually based in their factory where they manufacture their products. So, yeah, that's what I was doing. I had my small little business, which just kept me going. It was a struggle. As you know, there are a lot of problems with power in South Africa. And when you're running a small business and 2 or 3 days out of the week you don't have electricity, you're not earning an income. I was fortunate that the owner of the company that I was doing the engraving for bought all my equipment over when I was approved. We had spoken about it before, and I informed him that I was on the program, and he agreed that when I was going to leave, he would take over my equipment, which at least gave me a little bit of money to bring with.
So you came with a small nest egg, at least to help you get started, because you're able to sell your equipment there.
Yeah, it wasn't a big amount, but it was just a backup for me in case something went wrong. And my journey didn't go the way it was supposed to. I would have something to fall back on, which I would recommend for anybody coming over to come at least with a little bit of money. If you got into a situation where you can't pay your rent or anything like that, you have a little bit of a backup to fall back on.
Yeah, that's a solid plan. So you're approaching the 6-month period, so soon they'll expect you to begin paying back your IOM flight money that was given to you as a grant, and you pay it back interest-free. Are you working now, and are you able to start paying it back?
Yes, I'm working. I've got a full-time job. I've been full-time employed only for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks. But I have been working for the company for about 2.5 months.
Okay, so about you were there a couple months before you got full-time employment.
Yeah, what happened is, which I wasn't aware of, I went to a staffing agency and they found me the job. So knowing how they operate in South Africa, I wasn't aware that I was not being employed by the company. I was actually being employed by the staffing agency. Once I found that out, I actually went to the directors of the company and I explained my situation to them, and they agreed to take me on full time.
Okay, so let me explain this to folks because it's a little different in America than it is in some other places. We have companies, and I think the UK has something similar, that hire temp workers or seasonal workers, and they work for that company as employees of that company or as contractors with a 1099, one of those two circumstances. But they don't work for the place they're actually working at.
That's
because
correct.
You are working for a subcontractor, and that wasn't necessarily apparent. But it sounds so the company that you're working at must have liked you and said, no, we'll take you on as a full-time employee for us.
Yeah, they did. They were happy with my work, and they decided to take me on full time. It took a couple of weeks before they actually took me on, and that's another thing that people need to understand when they look for work in the US. The process here is very different. And it can be a lengthy process. So when you apply for a job, you will normally have a first interview, and you'll wait some time, and then they'll call you for a second interview if they want you. And then once you've had your second interview, you'll wait again. And then they'll do an onboarding with you. And this can take probably 6 to 8 weeks sometimes. And I had 3 jobs lined up at one stage. The first 2 of the jobs I could see was going to take a long time. And that's why I ended up taking the job through the staffing agency, because I could start working sooner. And that was important to me, to get a job as quickly as possible, to start earning an income.
Well, absolutely. And that makes all the sense in the world. The temp agency. So with the temp agency, did they have an issue with EAD, or did you already have that in hand?
No, I already had that. So let me just explain a little bit about my situation, because like I said to you in the email, my situation is very different to most other refugees. When I came over and I was placed with a US tie. So I did not, my refugee agency did not have to find me accommodation. I was placed with a very good friend of mine who lives up in Michigan. And I lived there for probably about 2 months. I have a cousin in Mansfield, Ohio. So one weekend I came down for a visit. They also offered to borrow me a car, a spare car that they had. So that's one of the reasons why I came down to Mansfield. During my visit here, I quite liked the area. It's very scenic up here. And I found that the cost of living is a lot cheaper in Ohio. So at the time, I had a job lined up with Pfizer in Detroit. But as I said, that was taking a long time. I actually got through to the second interview. But at that time, I had already moved down to Mansfield and started looking for work here, where I then got the job with the staffing agency. So I did finish my first 3 months with my refugee agency in Detroit, completed that, and then out-migrated to Mansfield.
Well, it sounds like you approach the out-migration from a rational way, unlike some people
Yes.
who arrive in country and they don't like their agent, so I'm out of here, and 2 days later they leave and create a problem for themselves and for other agencies. You had this together. Was there any difficulty out-migrating from your agency? Did they have any leaves?
Not at all. My agency, I can recommend them to anybody. They treated me very well. They helped me a lot. They even helped me to get to my Social Security appointment. They found me one very quickly. They had to actually contact different Social Security officers to find me a appointment that was sooner, that I could get the application in.
What about your transfer or your movement to Mansfield? Did you pick up with another refugee agency, or are you on your own now?
No, I'm on my own. I did contact a refugee agency in Columbus, and they said I'm welcome. They will help me at any time. Basically, all I need help with at this stage is my application for my permanent residence.
Yeah, your green card application at the 12
That's
month
correct,
period.
yeah. So they said that
you've got some time before that, so you got time to prepare for it.
yeah, so they said at 9 months I should contact them again, and then I can go to their offices and we can start the process of the application.
See, this is exactly how it's supposed to work. You know, they are getting paid by the government to help refugees, and even though they didn't pick up your case, they said they're willing to help you. And because what we're talking about is not a very time-consuming thing, it doesn't cost them money, and it sounds like it's a good agency there that you're dealing with. Can you tell us the name of the agency in Columbus that's willing to work with you?
I don't have it offhand. Sorry.
That's all right.
Remember.
It's all right. I just, when people do something good, I like to give them credit, but I can't do it. So
I can tell you the name of the agency up in in Detroit.
Yeah, please let me know that one, because we've heard horror
that-
stories about Jewish Family Services in Ann
Yeah.
Arbor and some other ones. But who did you have in Detroit?
This company is called Samaritas. And the caseworker that I had was very good.
Oh, that's excellent. So Samaritans in Detroit did a good job for you.
Yeah. And also some of the other agents that I dealt with were very helpful. So I also managed to get the full $2,000 that they give you, of which obviously they give it to you on a two weekly basis. So they don't give you the full amount when you arrive. So it worked out to around $330 every 2 weeks that they gave me.
Oh, that's because they didn't have to pay for a deposit. They didn't have to pay for a place because you were staying with.
That's correct.
You're staying with a U.S. contact. I understand. Okay.
They offered to get me a mobile phone when I arrived, but they did explain that it would come off that $2,000. I arrived with a very new phone, so I didn't need a mobile phone. All I did was I went to T-Mobile, got a prepaid plan, and got a US number, which I was then able to put into my phone alongside my South African number.
So let me get this straight. I mean, okay, wait a second. You have an agency that didn't force a cell phone that they bought and give it to you, that didn't take your money and rent a hovel with cockroaches and broken windows for you to live in, that didn't give you just $100 survive off on every 2 weeks, that didn't treat you with disdain. You had an agency that did everything proper, was polite, friendly, respectful, and was a good steward of your funds? I mean, I was told this never happens, that all the refugees are struggling. It sounds to me like I've been fed a load of crap by the media.
Well, yeah, like you know yourself that there are different agencies and some are doing a good job and some are not doing a good job. And I was fortunate to have an agency that did a really good job.
Unfortunately, that's what I've said. It's the luck of the draw. You might get a good agency with a bad case officer. You might get a great case officer with a bad agency. You might get a great case officer and a great agency, and that's the ideal situation. So the whole process for you, Stephen, what was the most challenging part? Because we've talked about the way I don't know if you're following my advice, but you did what I'm advising people to do. You put this in and you continued your life. If it happens, it happens. Correct, yeah. Let me continue. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, then, boom, I can plan. So what was the biggest, because a lot of people, earlier interviews were like the stress of waiting, that, checking that portal, which I told people not to do. That was the biggest problem for them, biggest challenge. What for you was the biggest challenge in this process going through it?
I didn't really have any challenges. I just followed the program. And like you said, I followed your advice. Just not to worry about it, go on with my life. Only when I got the approval and then within 1 week had to fly out, it was a little bit of a challenge because now I had some stuff that I had to get rid of very quickly. I had a car that I had to get rid of. Fortunately, we buy cars in South Africa. So I approached them, and that was actually very easy to get rid of the car. So that also contributed to the money that I brought over. One thing that I'm sorry about is that because it happened so quickly, I wasn't able to say goodbye to my father because he lives in the South Coast, Margate area. Which was quite a long way from where I was, because I come from Brits. And within that such a short period of time, I wasn't able to get down there. He's probably around 83 now, and he's got dementia. So I'll probably never see him again.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. Very unfortunate. Yeah. You have siblings back in South Africa, can check in on him?
Yeah, I speak to my younger brother, half brother. He's in Australia though, but they have contact as well. But I do get to speak to him fairly often. I can call at least.
No, that has to be, and I did caution people about this. I said, because the nature of it, there will be situations where, because of elderly parents or grandparents, you may not get to see them again because you have to wait until you have the ability to travel back there, which would be, if you become a U.S. citizen, you have U.S. passport, then it's no issue. You go where you want, and they can't stop you. And hopefully your dad's still around, so you get a chance to go back there at some point and see him again. But that's but you're realistic about that. That's encouraging that people think.
Obviously, I had to leave my mother and the rest of my family behind. Fortunately, they've now decided that they want to get on the program as well, and they've put their applications in. So we're hoping that they get approved and they'll be able to come over, and then I can be a tie to them. And especially my sister and her husband, I can take them in and get them on their feet until they're in a position where they can actually go out and get their own place and they settle down.
Well, that's great. And as we've talked about, people are asking a question. You can be a U.S. tie if you're here or you're authorized, even as a refugee. We believe that to be the case based on past refugees, but we've confirmed that with actual cases since then. It's not to get away from your story, but just to compare it. I know someone who's here in the U.S. who out-migrated along with their adult children to a different location. And now the adult children are resentful of their adult parent and saying, look, the adult parent should go back to South Africa. And I'm just sitting here scratching my head. Wait a second, you selfish pricks. So you've come to America because you're facing persecution, and you know your parent faced horrible persecution in South Africa. You all came over here on a link case. You all wound up out migrating somewhere else because of the decisions you made as the children. And so the adult came along, and because they have no job, because they don't have any resources, they're currently living with you. And apparently your adult parent is a burden to you, so you want to chuck that parent out and have the audacity, the temerity to tell that parent who went through the refugee program that they should go back to South Africa, where they're going to face persecution, possibly murder, rape and murder. What kind of people do that? I mean, now I may not have all the facts, but I've been talking to this refugee for several months, and their situation is worsening. And I'm like, are you serious? So are you that selfish that it's okay for you to come to America as a refugee, but your parents should go back to South Africa? I mean, that's completely opposite of what you're talking about, Stephen. You're trying to get your parent and your other family members over here, and you want to be a tie to help them. I mean, that's heartless.
Yeah, I agree. It's terrible. I don't know how people can do that. And I'm encouraging my family to come over. I did that when I was during the process, but at the time they didn't want to leave. And now because I contact my family every Sunday, so we have video calls every Sunday, and they can see how relaxed I've become, how happy I am, and they've come to realize that it is just a good thing. And they need to try and get here as well, and to get away from that stress of living with that fear every day that something is going to happen to you.
So I'm going to ask what I think is probably an obvious question. I'll answer it and then see if I got it correct. So my questions could be, why were they sitting on the fence if they're under such stress and being persecuted? Why did they not already do this? Because we're 18 months into this. And now I'm going to answer the question for myself. They were fearful because they're probably believing the propaganda about America and didn't know any better. And you were the foretrekker. You were the one who came, the scout who came first. And they can see that, well, it actually is better there. And maybe we should go too. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But also it is related to family as well. So initially my sister didn't want to come over and leave her daughter and grandkids behind. And also my mother didn't want to come over So my sister didn't want to leave my mother behind, because my mother actually lives with my sister. So that was one of the reasons why they decided not to come over initially. But now everybody is on the same page. Everybody has realized it's a better thing for them, and they've all put their applications in.
Okay, so this is like Blue Bull fans. Oh, the Blue Bulls have the best team in rugby, but nobody supports them when they don't win. When they win, suddenly they all start showing up at Loftus.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah.
going to make some Bulls fans mad. Too bad.
Yeah, so like I said to you as well, my process has been very different to most refugees because I came over and was placed with a tie. And from there, I moved on to Mansfield, and now I'm with family. So I've always had somebody around and somebody to actually show me around and help me with various different processes, which is a great benefit. Where if you have to do this on your own, it could be stressful and it could be difficult at times.
Well, and that's why we give normally in an average year about $9 billion a year to refugee agencies to make this an easier path to help you get set up. And some of them, like the two that you've been involved with, seem to be doing their job very well. Others not so much, and others just abysmal. It's important for people to understand that this is not an easy path. In your case, you must have like a 4-leaf clover in your wallet because things seem to be falling in place for you. But there are challenges, and even though things have gone well for you, there could be challenges coming. For instance, waiting on your parents, or your mom, or your siblings. You know, their cases to be approved, or when they're approved, and maybe they don't come over together. So there may be some bumps in the road still for your family coming over here.
One of my challenges was getting my unabridged birth certificate back in South Africa. I put in the application before I came over. Actually, I put it in September of last year. And it took about 9 months. And it only happened once I actually got my sister to call Home Affairs to find out what's happening with my application. And then within approximately a week after that, it was available. And then the challenge was that they wouldn't give it to my sister to collect on my behalf. Even though she had an affidavit signed by myself, she works for attorneys, so it was signed by them. They still wouldn't give it to her. I then, unfortunately, had to follow the typical South African route. Yeah, exactly. And then within 10 minutes, I had it.
Yeah, folks, you couldn't see me on camera because I've got split camera right now. When he said that I did this with my fingers, yeah, he had to pay a bribe to get it.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I waited patiently for 9 months and nothing happened. And I had to have it. So fortunately now I have it, and it's on its way to me via courier.
Well, that's excellent news because that's been a stumbling block for people. We have a lot of people saying, I'm not going to apply until I've got documents. I'm like, no, don't wait. You need a passport to leave the country. You don't need a passport to go through the interviews and apply. You're supposed to give your passport number, but you could put your identity card number in there in the meantime and explain to them when they call you in that you're still waiting for your passport. Don't wait for your unabridged birth certificate. Go ahead and try to get it. You don't actually need the birth certificate until the green card process, so you've got time. The challenge, as you said, is getting it. But I mean, I'm not encouraging people to pay bribes, but worst case, you'll get it quickly. By that, somebody can pick it up for you that way. It's unfortunate, but this is a reality. South Africa is not a first world country. It's a third world African cesspool now, based on what's happening. If you have to bribe government officials to provide services that you as taxpayer have already paid for because they're crooked bastards, then it's like being in the Congo. It's like being in Nigeria. It's like being in Ghana. You have to.
Exactly.
It's just wrong. That's not how life works. but it works that way in Africa.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with.
Well, you don't have to deal with it on this side anymore, thankfully.
No, definitely not.
Because if you catch an official in an office at the DMV or something like that in Ohio trying to do that, you report them. They're going to wind up in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, again, shows how the system actually works in the US. And we don't realize that coming from South Africa because the system is broken. And we just so used to dealing with bad service and waiting in long queues and waiting hours to get something done. And you get here and things just work, and it happens quickly. Like when I went for my social security number, I had an appointment and I was in and out there within half an hour.
Wow, that's actually pretty good for a Social Security office. It's not one of our best performing services in many cases. Let's go back to Michigan very quickly here, because Ohio implemented this nonsense that's made it very difficult for refugees to get a driver's license, which greatly harms their ability. But you were in Michigan. Did you get a driver's license?
I actually disagree with that.
Okay, go ahead. Because
all I did is I went online. I did the written test online. I went to the, in Ohio, it's the BMV, went to the offices with my social security and my proof of residence, and they issued me with a temporary driving license, which is valid for 1 year. And that, I'm just waiting for my card in the post, but I've got a printed form of that. And I can, at any time, I can go and do my driving test.
Okay, let's be clear about something here first. Okay, the terminology using. You have a temporary license, not a learner's permit.
No, temporary driving permit, which is unrestricted.
Okay, that's why I'm asking, because when I'm 16 in Ohio, I don't get a proper license. I get a learner's permit, correct. And I have to have someone who's a licensed driver in the vehicle. You don't need a licensed driver. No,
I don't at all.
Okay, so I don't understand how that happened, because Ohio, I don't know if they've changed something, because we made a big stink about this several months ago when I went to Ohio. Yeah. But the deal was Ohio was saying that if you're a refugee status, you have to get 13 hours of night driving with instructor. You have to do this other thing. You have to certification from a driving school before you can get a license. So did they not know you were a refugee or something? I'm glad you got it, but that's weird.
Yeah. Well, I just went through the process and they issued it to me. They didn't ask any questions. I don't know if it's because it's a small town that made it easier.
Okay, look, I'm going to call bullshit. You told me you're English, but I think you're Irish.
I've been asked that many times.
I think
Irish or Scottish or Australian.
I think you're Irish. I mean, this guy's got the luck of the Irish, man. Everything just... Look, I'm going to come hang out with you in Mansfield when it comes time to pay my taxes, because maybe my tax bill will be smaller with your luck. My goodness.
That's one thing you have to get used to, paying all the various different taxes in the US. You have federal, state, and city tax. And those are all deductions that come off your salary.
Yeah, and that people don't realize that. That's why, it's like I always explain to people, and then you get the haters are, it's all about money. No, I explain to people, about the money that I receive, like from YouTube. Yeah. First off, YouTube takes 30% of super chats and 30% of memberships, 45% of all ad revenue. I don't begrudge them that. They create an ecosystem, an environmental marketplace that I don't have to do anything. All the ads are auctioned. It's all automatic. It all happens instantaneously, and I get money from it. So if they want to take 45%, I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with them taking 30% of my super chats, because it's either my entertainment or my informative or my personality that gets people to donate, and not them. They just provide a platform. And 30% is usury. I think it should be 10 or 15%. And the same with memberships. But so that they take that off the top, and then I have to pay federal income tax on that. As the year goes, I pay 28% of my income tax, plus I pay Social Security and Medicare. I pay my portion, which is 6.25 plus another 2 point something, and then I pay my employer's portion because I'm self-employed with the YouTube money. So it's double that. So the 28 plus 18%. So that's 20, that's 38. That's 38 plus another. Where are we at there? 8. That's going to be 46%. And then on top of that, I have to pay Pennsylvania tax, which is 3% of my income. So 51% of every dollar is gone in taxes. And that's after 30 or 45% was taken already. And people like, you make all this money off YouTube. I'm like, no, unless you have half a million subscribers, you don't make a lot of money on YouTube. You just don't. But people don't understand all the different taxes. And that's before you go buy petrol, which has state and federal tax, before you pay for your cell phone bill, which has excise taxes and all these other fees, 911 fees. And then before you pay taxes on your natural gas, your electricity. And then when you have sales tax. So Ohio, when I grew up, it was 4%. Now I think it's 6% for sales tax in Ohio.
And the other thing is that you have to file all these taxes separately.
Well, yeah,
So the federal, you have to file state, and then you have city as well.
Well, that depends. I don't live in a place that has city tax, but some places do have city tax. It's when I was in Athens, Ohio, working at the university, I had to pay city tax there too. It was crazy. Yeah. Excuse me, I'm all choked up about the taxes I pay. So it sounds like things are going very well. What's the best part of this process for you so far, or the experience coming to the States? What's the best thing about it?
Well, the best thing is that I'm being able to live the life that I wanted to live, but was not able to live in South Africa. To be free, to do what I want, when I want, to be safe, to be able, I work a second shift. I come home at 1:30 or 1 in the morning, and it is very safe to drive at that time. Whereas in South Africa, you have to be very careful when you're driving late at night. I'm able to do things that I was not able to do in South Africa. I always said I should have been born in the US because I like everything related to the US. So I'm an ice hockey player. So that's on my bucket list, to go and see an NHL game. And that's when the season comes up, I'm definitely going to go down to Columbus and watch the Blue Jackets play. I've traveled quite a bit within the Ohio area, getting to see a lot of places, getting out. Went to drag racing a couple of weeks ago at Norwalk, which was an amazing experience. Went to the Indy car racing about 2 weeks ago here in Mansfield. So yeah, I think my life has improved a lot since I've come to the US.
Well, the Blue Jackets I can highly recommend. The Nationwide Arena is one of the best hockey venues in the country for the NHL. I've been to a few games there, really, really enjoyed it. And I've never been to Mansfield, but for the first time ever, even though I lived in Ohio, I just recently drove past Mansfield on my way from Columbus up to Cleveland. You're only an hour from Columbus. That's a pretty short trip. It's 100 kilometers, easy.
Yeah, and the same with Cleveland. We basically almost halfway between both big cities.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Cleveland, why do you want to go there?
We actually had a braai on the weekend for all the South Africans in Ohio, up in Fairport Harbor, which is just a little bit out of Cleveland. So I took a drive up there, and we had a really good turnout. There was at least more than 60 people that turned out, which was fantastic. And it was nice to meet up with fellow South Africans. We had a nice braai. One of the guys made wors. He also makes biltong. So, yeah, we had a good time.
Well, I didn't get an invitation to that. My feelings are hurt.
We will definitely invite you to the next one.
Well, I'm not coming. My feelings are hurt. Oh my goodness! I've been to a few braais.
Thinking of planning one here in Mansfield. We've got quite a few nice lakes here with beaches, and I think it's fairly central, so we can attract more South Africans that are in Ohio. So you can actually get people coming from the south, like Columbus, even down Cincinnati way.
Oh no, that's a good point. The nice thing about Ohio is that Columbus in particular, but Mansfield's a little further north, but because of the centrality and the shape of the state, almost in a rectangle there, everything, it may be 4 hours to get from one end of the state to the other, but to get to a central location, we're just talking 2 hours or less for everybody. So in your case, people from Cleveland and Toledo would be able to come. Even some people maybe in Ann Arbor might want to make it short, because it's not that far across the border, might want to come down. You could have a massive one in Ohio. Pittsburgh, it's not that far. Even people in Pittsburgh might want to come, especially if it's on the weekend. But no, that's a good idea.
So yeah, I'm hoping to get together with the organizers from the previous braai that we had on the weekend, and see if we can put something together in the next month or so.
Oh, that's awesome. So Malbor is trying to do some math over here. Talking about 150,000 subscribers, 10% of them paying, so 15,000 paying subscribers. You clear $1 each. So he's already looked at how much you would charge. You get $1 from that. You got overhead of 5,000, so you have $10,000 a month. Yeah, you'd think it works that way, Malbor, but with 2,000 subscribers, I wasn't even making $1,000 a month, even though about 15 of them were paying me $15 a month being members. You would think that I have it, but YouTube somehow steals that money on memberships. It's not clear. And if you have foreign members, I make almost nothing off that. So the $2.90. I had 800 members at $3 a month. And that should have been $2,400. And even if they take 30% of that off, that's going to be $600, $700. So I should still be getting about $1,600 a month in revenue from those 800 members alone. And I get about $240. YouTube, a bunch of scam artists. So you say that, Malbor, but it just doesn't work out that way. And you have no recourse. I've asked about it; they just blow me off. Anyway, not to get into the YouTube stuff, but people, and unless you live by this, you don't know that just how wicked they can be. But then again, they don't have to provide this platform. I have terabytes of data on their servers. I'm not paying to store there, so I'm not complaining. I just would rather have 1.5 million subscribers, and then I'd have the resources to do all the things that we could do for this. But speaking of resources, what are you lacking in Mansfield? Is anything not working out? It sounds like you're like I said, you're Irish.
Everything's working out very good for me. I did have an experience, like I said, with going through a temp agency or a staffing agency. I went up to Akron to go and have a look at a car. Went up there just to look what is available. I had my heart set on a Subaru Forester because I had one back in South Africa. I really like it. And when I was there, they said, come, let's just do an application, which within probably an hour, they came back and said, look, it's been approved. You can get the car. I had driven up there myself, so I had no way of driving 2 cars back. So I came back, and this was on the Saturday. On the Monday, I got a call to say, we're sorry, the bank said you have been declined because you're a temp worker. So that was a little bit of a setback for me. I was so excited, I already told everybody, all my friends and family, that I'm getting a car, and then it didn't happen. At that point is when I approached the directors of the company to employ me directly, which then happened, and last week, Thursday, I got my new car.
Well, congratulations. I don't know if it was a Subaru Forester, though.
Yeah, it is. And it's a new one as well, a 2026 model.
Oh, stop. You damn refugees got nicer cars than I do.
Yeah. I had to take it on a lease, though, to get the payments down, to be affordable to my salary. But they approved it. And so I've got a new car now. So it is possible for anybody that comes here. You just have to be a little bit patient. Things are not going to happen overnight. What I always say is have a list and start ticking off things off your list as you complete them. So when you do your Social Security and you've completed that, tick it off your list. And just work on your list, and don't get too caught up with you need to have things to happen quickly. Things are not going to happen quickly.
Well, that means, they happen a lot quicker than South Africa.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely a lot quicker. But you're going to sit around for the first couple of weeks not doing anything. I was getting a bit frustrated initially, and my friend that I lived with at the time just kept telling me, just relax, enjoy your holiday.
Yeah, well,
Because once you start working, you're not going to have.
no, you're not going to have that
time.
free time. You're not going to look.
Yes.
I mean, it's a similar situation when in the military we move from place to place. You're not on a holiday when you arrive, but you typically go through in processing, and they have briefings you have to go to and things you have to do, and medical checks and all that. And it's not a holiday, but it's not the fast paced life of being in uniform in a unit. And then it's over, and then suddenly I can't just go somewhere at 2:00 in the afternoon because I have to be at work, or something like that. So there's an important thing that just came up in this conversation that you mentioned. You were denied a loan, but you weren't denied a loan because of a credit history or because you're a refugee, but rather because your employment status.
That's correct, yes.
And so that's important for people to understand, and that's what I try to explain to folks. Your credit history does matter, but like right now when they're desperate to sell cars, they're less onerous when it comes to approving loans without a credit history. So the market right now actually works in the favor in some respects for refugees coming over if they're able to get a job quickly, a permanent employment, because car dealers are having a hard time moving cars right now because of the interest rates. And so it may not be ideal, but it might work in your favor not having that credit history, which is kind of counterintuitive.
Because you're considered to be a first-time buyer.
Yeah, exactly. Even though you're now 50 or 60 years old, you're a first-time buyer,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Well, if you buy a GM car, you get a first-time buyer discount of $500.
The other thing is to take note of is initially when I did the application, they were prepared to do it with my South African driver's license.
Oh wow, that's interesting because you didn't have an Ohio driver's license at the time.
That's correct. Yeah. The second time now, I was able to give them my Ohio temporary driving permit, which they were quite happy with as well.
Well, very quickly, I see Debbie Morey's in the chat. Debbie, I sent you a WhatsApp. Do I have the wrong number for you? The messages are disappearing and you haven't responded to my messages. I'm trying to reach out to you for a few days asking for your help on something. That's so in your case, it was a question. That's important. People need to understand what sort of employment they have. Whether you're a part-time or you're working through an agency or you're a full-time employee of the person or the company you're working for, or if you're self-employed as a subcontractor, all of those things play a role in whether you can get loans or what you can do. And here, let me explain to the audience. This is not to you, Stephen. Obviously, I think you get this. All of these things play a role in making a risk determination for a lender. If they're going to lend you money or they're going to sell you something that's very valuable, whether it's a house or it's a car, in order to make sure they're going to recoup their investment in that, they have to have someone that's reliable. And the things that we're talking about are things that show that you're a reliable adult who can function in society and you're responsible. That's what this is all about. It's risk mitigation, risk reduction. And while on the surface, if I ask this question of 100 South Africans who come over here, is it fair about the credit, rating? They'll say, no, it's not fair. But it is, because it has to be fair to all parties. And it's not fair to people who've never met you, who don't know you, who have no record of you. You've just magically appeared as if you came from Alpha Centauri Galaxy and you landed here. They don't know if you're a risk or not. So while it may be unfair to you individually, personally, to the system to function, it's very fair. We have a system in which the government intruded into the housing market with the subprime mortgages, which nearly collapsed the entire global financial system because of irresponsible lending. So it's important that the lending be done to people. And I know a lot of South Africans be like, yeah, but I'm reliable. You say reliable, but you haven't been here and you don't have the cultural norms. And you might be the best person since Christ walked the earth, but your personality could potentially be abrasive, and you got that job and 2 weeks later you get fired. Well, now how are you going to pay for that car? That makes sense to you, doesn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, Definitely. The other thing that I wanted to say as well is that um, I've been here now almost 6 months. I did everything that, that I read up that would create a credit history for you and a credit score, meaning I got the mobile, basically what we call a contract package. So I moved away from the prepaid, and I got a package with T-Mobile where I have a monthly payment. I managed to get a secured credit card where I had to put an amount down to get the credit card to be able to build on my credit. Now that takes me back to another thing. Once I had my social security number, or actually my card, which I got within a week of applying for it, I was able to go to Bank of America and get a checking account with them. And it was given to me immediately. It took a couple of days for the card to arrive, but I had the account opened within maybe an hour.
No, that went pretty fast. I mean, that's an important aspect too, and this is one I can't drive home enough. And this is life lessons, less our interview and more for South Africans listening. You've got to be responsible with finances. You've got to establish that credit history. You've got to pay all your bills on time, never be late. 1/3 of your credit score is tied to your timeliness of paying bills. And if you miss a payment on a utility or on a credit card payment or a mortgage or a car loan, it's going to be devastating to your credit score, and it can take a long time to build it up. And even if you build it up, people who are doing your credit report will look that 3 years ago you didn't pay your bills for 3 months.
Yeah.
And they're going to ask that question, or they're going to hesitate. So someone earlier said that their car loan was, it was Debbie. Debbie, that's where I saw. Debbie said her car loan was at 10.25%. My car loan, which I don't have, I paid my car off years ago, but my car loan for my Chrysler, 1.75%.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, well, first off, she's in South Africa, so she's getting screwed. Yeah. but in America, someone could get it for 6% when I was getting it for 1.75%. But that's what a good credit record and a credit score will do for you.
That's the other point I wanted to make. After being here for 6 months already, I still have a 0 credit score.
You have a 0 credit score.
Yeah, 0 at the moment. So I haven't.
So you're a
even
nobody.
with all these.
You're a nobody.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, at least you're able to get a lease on a car. That's good news. And you got yourself a Subaru. You know what they call Subarus in America, don't you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, I don't call them this, but it does go around a lot because they tend to be a popular choice for lesbians. People derisively call them lesbarus.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not one of those.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. If you are a lesbian, you got to be the most unattractive lesbian I've ever met. Anyway, all right. Well, we've come up on an hour here for this one, so people are laughing now. So again, hey, look, I'm not saying that, guys. That's just what people call them. I mean, it's like when I bought my Volvo. I bought it in 1994, and then I had people approach me and said, "Why did you buy an ethnic car?" I'm like, "An ethnic car? What do you mean? A Swedish car? When am I supposed to carry meatballs around?" And they said, "No, black people buy that car." I'm like, "Yeah, and lots of people buy that car." What? An ethnic car? I was like scratching my head about that one. What is a good credit score in the U.S.? Anything north of 700. A decent credit score would be in the 600s, the high 600s. A good credit score is north of 700. Outstanding credit score is above 790. A bad credit score is 500 and below. And yeah, that's that. If that helps people out.
So yeah, one of the deciding factors for me with buying this car was, firstly, I needed an all-wheel drive with all the snow that you get in Ohio. I wanted to be able to go, if I want to go camping or touring, to be able to go anywhere. And reliability and safety. And the Subaru covers all of those.
Oh, listen, they're definitely great cars. Subaru definitely is reliable. They have a very loyal base of people in America that buy them, and I think the same in South Africa, but certainly here in America where they sell a lot more of them. No, they're very popular. I actually looked at a Subaru recently, but it was Subaru. I think it was Subaru. It had a three-cylinder engine. And I'm like, I'm not buying a three-cylinder engine, but I'm with you. My Chrysler is an all-wheel drive. I will never, if I can avoid it, ever buy a car that isn't all-wheel drive. The ride, the control you have on the car, on the road, the way it grips the road is so much better than a two-wheel drive.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, cool beans. Okay, well, Stephen, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. I'm sorry, I'm coughing a little bit here for some reason. I need to clear my throat when we're done. I'll give you a chance to take the floor and share any thoughts or recommendations or advice with folks. Of course, understanding we know from our conversation that your siblings and your mother are still trying to come over, and we hope that things go smoothly and there's no ineligibility letters for them. But hopefully you'll keep us updated or keep me updated privately, how things go. But I'd like to give you the floor now to just, talk about the process or anything you want to share with folks, patience or, moving on, whatever advice you have for folks, because you're the refugee. I'm not. I'm not in your shoes. So we want to hear it from you, not from me.
Yeah. So, like we always say, be patient. Just follow the process. Don't worry too much about the when you're going to be called. Just relax. Don't go and quit your job. Don't go and sell everything. Yeah, start getting rid of small things. Things usually you have laying around in your house that you haven't used for a year. You can start getting rid of all those small little things. And when the time comes, you only have the big things that you need to get rid of fairly quickly, yeah. And when you come here as well, be patient and just take it step by step and get your life in order. I have a little bit of a challenge at the moment because of my situation, being put with a US tie and not having an agency find accommodation for me. I'm finding it difficult to get a real estate agent or a realtor, as they call them here, that will rent me a property. And that's a bit of a challenge at the moment. But I'm hoping to get my own place fairly soon.
Yeah, well, that is a challenge, and of course, that does go back to the credit score. That is definitely something that plays a role. Getting a rental unit or buying a home, but particularly both of them. Excuse me. In both cases, your credit score definitely is something, and that's one of the challenges that refugees arriving in America have, and these agencies have, is finding places that are suitable that would take refugees, and that's why typically a larger agency with a track record. If they have, deadbeats, which they get occasionally amongst refugees, if they have deadbeats, that the agency picks up the cost so that the place renting doesn't take a loss, and then they're willing to do it. But if you're like yourself relocating to Mansfield, and that begs the question. I mean, I've given you a chance to wrap up, but I got another question now before we go. Have you come across any other refugees in Mansfield? Because I haven't heard of anybody being located to Mansfield.
No refugees in Mansfield. There's one other couple from South Africa, but they're not refugees. They've been here for quite a few years. Same with my cousin that I live with. She's been here for more than 30 years. She's actually lived in the US longer than what she lived in South Africa.
So that other couple and your cousin, are they Bulls fans?
I don't know the other couple. I've never met them. Oops, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what... never met the other couple, but yeah, no, my cousin doesn't follow the rugby.
Oh, okay. Well, gosh, my needs, my reasons for coming to Mansfield are diminishing by the moment. But seriously, Stephen, thanks a lot for contacting me and asking to come on the program. I've enjoyed our conversation. I hope you did as well. And I think it's been very informative for those interested in the program from a standpoint of the following. Let me run through a few points. You are a veteran through compulsory military service of the South African Defense Force. You were interviewed about that. It was something they asked in great detail. You were fortunate enough that you did this before the raid in Woodmead, and so you weren't required to provide military documents. You have come over successfully. You had a U.S. tie. You got here. You do have a driver's license. You do have a leased car. You're living with your cousin. I don't know if your cousin's charging you rent, but if I was your cousin, I'd charge you rent. But if your cousin's not, then maybe you're able to bank a bit more money. You were able to find work. You got it through a temp agency, only to discover that was a bar or inhibiting factor to get yourself a loan to buy a car. And when you found that out, instead of going, woe is me, you went and talked to the employer and said, hey, I'd like to work for you guys full time. And they brought you on. And it sounds like things are going pretty well for you.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I can tell people is you cannot come here and just sit back and relax and hope things are going to happen for you. You've got to go out there and make them happen. If you want something, go out there, go and find a job, go look for a job. Nobody's going to do it for you. You can't expect your refugee agency to find you a job.
Well, Stephen, one of the phrases, of course, we know this, is the phrase that South Africans love to fall back on when they try to say that, they're going to overcome adversity. Boer maak 'n plan. It's great that a Boer makes a plan, but a Boer has to execute a plan, not just make a plan.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, cool beats. With that, Stephen, I'm going to thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on. I guess I'll use Tswana since you're not technically an Afrikaner, but you're not. So I'll say Kea Leboa instead of bye bye donkey.
Ek sal sê baie dankie en dit was baie lekker geweest.
Oh, wait a second. You're a clandestine Afrikaner. That sounded Afrikaans.
I told you. I actually grew up in a small town in the Free State.
Oh, my goodness.
Where there was only Afrikaans school.
The Free State. How you finding these paved roads and electricity? Kind of a shock, huh?
We only had one paved road in the little town that I lived in. And no traffic lights. Only traffic circles.
Oh, good. So you never got the bad habit of calling them robots. You learned properly the traffic lights.
Well, thank you very much. It was really good talking to you. And I hope we can catch up sometime again.
Well, absolutely.
And hopefully when you come to Ohio sometime, we can get together.
Well, I've already been there, and my sister lives in Newark, so I do get there occasionally. Newark's not too far away from Mansfield, a little ways away. And maybe, who knows, if it's the right time of year, maybe we can go to a Blue Jackets game in Columbus together. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So you said you played hockey, or you're
yes,
just okay.
I played hockey. I coached what we call a development team, an academy, where I took kids with no ability and taught them some hockey skills and skating.
Now, were you a forward, a center, or a defenseman?
Forward.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
Left wing.
Okay. Oh yeah, not politically, just on the ice.
Not politically.
Yeah. Look, on rugby pitch, I'm a left wing, but I'm not left wing politically. Yeah. So no, it's interesting because people say there's no hockey in South Africa. That's balderdash. There is hockey in South Africa. It's just not. Yeah, it's not well known. I mean, I've been ice skating in Kempton Park and in Amanzimtoti. I mean, skating in a subtropical zone of KZN. Come on. Scrub says Stephen actually coached me.
Yeah.
No, one of my viewers. I don't know who that is. Yeah. Scrub says Stephen actually coached me.
If I hear his actual name, I would probably recognize him.
Scrub, are you going to give it up, or are you clandestine? You're going to give us the name so we can see if he remembers you? Oh, it's your son. Okay, all right. He says he's your dad. You're his dad.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I taught him. He started at 4 years old. Started teaching him to skate, and he was playing hockey at 5 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool beans.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. Well, I thought we were going to hear some kid that. Lehani wants to know how far from Pittsburgh. Lehani, probably about 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh to get to Mansfield. Lehani, of course, is the mother of Levi. Off the market for the gentleman who was drooling over Levi as a young lady. And stop that, by the way. She was 17, you creeps. But she's Levi, of course, is famous a lot for the work she does with working dogs. Of course, Bruce's service dog is with Levi, and Lehani is her mother. Lehani is well known in her own right. She's a competitive bike racer, not motorcycles. But, the bicycles, the high speed
bicycle racing.
Yeah, that's exactly so. We're doing a get-together in September. You're invited. Hey, Lehani, when is September? Because I'm all over the place. I assume you're inviting him and not me. But my September is pretty full. I mean, unless it's like midweek or it's on the Sunday, like the 13th of September, my weeks are pretty full because I've got some stuff going on before that. And then I have to do that trip to the Midwest with the filmmaker that we just went to Georgia with, so I can meet with refugees up there in Eau Claire and in Sioux Falls. And then also I come back. I've got the White Cross Project in DC that takes place. So anyway, so she said, "Oh, you've sent me an invite. Okay, well, I see how far behind. I mean, when I see something from Lehani, I always check it, but obviously it's way down in my WhatsApp. So, and we just figured out Debbie here. Well, yeah, Debbie. There's lots of famous people here. We just figured out Debbie's. I got her correct number now because I had an old number. So it's been a very productive day for me so far. So I'm glad that Stephen, that you were here because all these people joined the chat and I'm taking care of some things I have to do.
Well, that's great.
Well, Malbor, dude, where are you at? They placed him in Michigan with his U.S. link. He's asking where you were placed. You went to Michigan in Detroit with your U.S. link. Yep. All right. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it. Stephen, I'll let you drop off and then I'll wrap it up. And thank you so much for coming on the program. It really was a pleasure. And I look forward to hearing how things are going in Mansfield. It's going to be easy for me to remember that you're in Mansfield, number one, because you're not technically a Boer with a Boer name because you got that English name. And you're the only person in Mansfield. So I should be able to remember that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. All right, I'll let you drop off and we'll wrap up here, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, folks, that was Stephen, who's in Mansfield, Ohio, and that's an interesting place. What's my computer? It's not cooperating. There we go. Okay. So thanks a lot, Stephen, my guest. You're going to be able to catch what's going on here. This earpiece cord is catching on my mouse here. Sorry about that. I thought that was a Lekka conversation. Stephen's a little laid back. I had to find my pace and cadence with him in the conversation early on, but we figured it out. But no, he seems to be doing very well. Got himself his Subaru, which he really wanted to have, which is cool. Glad to see he got a Subaru. You know what? I haven't even set up the news for today. Isn't that something? I just realized that. I'm going to do the news here in a few minutes, and I haven't even set it up. Wow. I guess I was so busy this morning taking care of other things. Let me just do that right now before we... come on. Oh, my goodness. YouTube has been really acting. It's not my internet. It's YouTube acting up lately. It's a little slow. They must be very busy. And so, just a moment here. I'll just put news. And I'll try to change it when I get off air here so that people can get the link up. Oh, come on. Wow. It's pretty crazy. There we go. Man, it is warm in my house today. I want to step outside where it's really hot. It's actually cooler outside, but I feel very warm in here. I wonder if I've got the air conditioner turned at the wrong level. It's supposed to be automatic. All right, so that is set up now. Oh, come on. My goodness. Okay, there we go. That's taken care of, and I just need to get over here and take care of one more thing. But I hope that that was informative. I think there's some very useful things to learn in that conversation, and not just for me reconnecting with Debbie's number and also hearing that thing from Lehani. But folks, go check out my videos. I edited and republished a video about land in South Africa from last year. I did it last night, as well as I also put something up about Richard Stengel's shameful conduct, the former managing editor of Time magazine, who laughs at the plight of South Africans who are Afrikaners. It's disgusting, absolutely revolting. Did this with Redi Talibi in a press panel, and it just shows you the arrogance of these people and how disrespectful and condescending and uncaring they are towards South Africans, white South Africans in particular, but especially Afrikaners. Just disgraceful. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for that. Happy Chappie had a birthday. Okay, well, I'll do a quick birthday cake before we run off for Happy Chappie if I can find my birthday cake. There we go. This is where it's going to be. So I'll see if it'll come up on top. There it is. Okay, Happy Chappie, happy birthday to you. Sorry I missed that. We don't usually do that in interviews, but we'll do it today. You see other YouTube channels are having trouble. Yeah, okay, well, that would explain why things have been a little slow. So, all right, guys, I'll see you in a few minutes with the news, all right? You saw those videos, that behavior that guy was, yeah, and the whole crowd laughing. Arrogant black supremacists. You know, all those people that are there are all wealthy and connected for the most part and have cushy lives, and they have the disdain for people because they're bigots and racists. That's why. Shame on them. All right, thanks to Stephen. I really appreciate his time with me today, and I'll see you guys in the news in just a few minutes. Cheers.